And boom, according to that, I am live. Welcome. My name is Hiko Simon. This is Tokyo Tonight. It's 10:30 p.m. Japan Standard Time, 10:31 p.m. Japan Standard Time. I actually, it wasn't detecting, oh, 1 minute. Not me. Okay, sorry. Quick home thing. Yeah, so where was I? That is going way too loud. Let's turn the gain down there so it's not peaking out. So technical issues. Yes, it didn't detect my camera. So then I plugged in the camera and I was going to hit live. And then I moved the mic and the USB came out and I had to reinstall the mic, as happens every week. So yeah, it's good to see everybody rocking in. We've got Odie Jr., Kerberos Tenshi. Kerberos Tenshi has a question there about TT time. Indeed, a good time for coffee. We've got, so Kerberos Tenshi found something similar to the yogurt that I had in Seattle in the US. Yes, I had the Elanos yogurt, which was awesome. But Greek yogurt mousse with lemon biscuit flavor. That sounds a lot like the key lime pie flavor yogurt that I miss so much from America. So yeah, that definitely does sound like the goods. Who else we got in here? Natalie, good to see you. Thank you for hitting the like and waiting for the boom. The boom, I hope it met all your expectations. And to everybody else, do remember that, yes, I do appreciate the likes. So do remember to hit the like button if you are enjoying it. Boom, boom, boom. Let me hear you say, wow. Hi from Sweden. Hi, is this my life? Good to see you. Go time indeed, Aaron. Wasn't too long after you did that. Bada boom, says Odie Jr. Do say hello if you're rocking in. It's always good to see everyone. Kind of funny, the live chat, I can see comments on the public chat and the control panel chat don't seem to be fully in sync at the moment. Hopefully those will pop up. I do see Believe in Yourself readings there, but it's not showing up for me in the chat that I can share yet. So hopefully that'll come through in a minute. Hope that you're having a good week. It's been a lovely week here in Japan. We're in that sort of period of 1 or 2 weeks in the year where the weather is actually nice. It's not too hot and it's not too cold yet. It's about to pivot into becoming very, very cold. I'm always looking white, but I'm looking more white than usual. So I'm just gonna see if I can warm up the light there a little bit. I guess I'm getting a little bit pale, but yeah, it's just been lovely outside. So, you know, now is like the cherry blossom season, the 1 or 2 weeks of normal, nice temperatures where you can go outside and not feel cold, but not feel hot. It's going to probably be over in about a week, but it's really nice in Japan right now. It's a great time to be here if you're thinking, if you're able to get here in the next week, it's a good time. Yeah, it's been fairly sort of quiet. I was going through the Twitter topics as well, and while, as usual, I've been tweeting a lot, not a lot of like big topics for the show tonight. But there again, I mean, we can just go through all the small topics. That's always fun. Lots of squirrels to chase. Yeah, I see more people rocking in now. We've got Believe in Yourself. Indeed, good to see you. Say hello. Shubas, our man from Panama. Glad that you could make it. Ra, remember watching you many, many years ago when you were at uni. If you're saying the word uni, you must be from New Zealand or Australia. If it was when I was at uni, the internet, you know what, my first year of university, the internet didn't even exist. It probably did exist, but I didn't have it to my second year. So yeah, I was like, geez, 1994. Anyway, so yeah, nice to know though, a long-time viewer. I mean, I have been doing this, like this Tokyo Tonight, since more than 10 years now. So good to have you in here, Ra. Thank you for joining. Thank you for saying hello. Rana lives in Japan and working here for 6 years. Cool. From Israel. Not where you picked up that word though. Huh. Okay. Well, very good. Welcome from Israel. Good to have another new. I guess you're in Japan at the moment, but it's nice to. I do like the little international community we have here in the chat. And good to have you in here. Mic is low. Did I set it too low? Sorry, I was playing with the gain control because I could see it peaking out. I actually recorded a training video for work on this setup. It didn't, not Tokyo Tonight, but on this setup. And when I was editing it, it was like the whole thing was like screaming loudly into like a drive-through. So I had to leave a mental note for myself to adjust the gain level, which you can see on the back of the mic. There was an Amazon sale this week, and I was kind of tempted to get one of those LED light-up fancy mics, but this is a very good mic. You just got to get the settings right for it. So yeah, sorry about the levels. Anyway, it's all part of the adjustments for the show. Better, thank you for that. Yeah, it's good to see everyone rocking in. Let's get into it. It's been I guess this isn't a rugby show, and I'm careful not to make it a rugby show, but it is the Rugby World Cup right now, and we've just had the 2 semi-finals. New Zealand did in the end of the day cruise past Argentina. I was worried about saying that because Argentina beat New Zealand at home last year. So, if you ever take them too lightly, you can get they can tip you over. But we won like 44 points to 6, so that was pretty comfortable. The South Africa-England game I watched this morning, that was a good game. I thought that South Africa would win by like 30 points. So, good show, England. It was good that it was a close, another 1-point win to South Africa. There again, I feel like South Africa's had more, they're a bit more battle-tested for the grand final next week. So, of course, as a New Zealander, I'm hoping that New Zealand wins, but South Africa is the form team of the competition. Like the way that they played against France and against Ireland, they looked much better than New Zealand. So I'm a bit worried but hopeful, and they're in the final, so everything just goes back to zero. You start all over again. So hoping we can do that. So a big week ahead anyway, looking forward to that. Hope that the rest of you have been enjoying that. But yes, so we got people talking about, that's so funny, why is this, so the chat which I can select and share is so far behind the captured chat, and I can't see Shubas's comment, which I can see over here, that you keep far away from crypto. In fact, I can see it on screen there. As indeed you should. I was actually, well, this is part of one of my tweets, so why don't we start on the topics and get through. First thing, just a general community thing. I had a friend message me and say, "Hey, Hiko, you must know a translator who can translate and transcribe videos and make subtitles." And while I've known a couple through the years, I don't really know anyone right now who I can refer to this. This is for a small business, so it should be a good paid commercial gig, all at the same time. Not for amateur translators, someone who does it for a living. If you or someone that you know meets that description, please direct message me on X, or if you've got it used to be good on YouTube when you could direct message on the video things, which I don't think you can do anymore. But the best way is if you're connected with me on any of the socials, Facebook, Twitter, hell, even Threads or whatever, just get in touch with me, and I'll pass the information along. Sounds like a kind of cool project, although a lot of work, and as someone who's done kind of amateur paid translation for companies where my job wasn't a translator, I do appreciate how much work it is, and that how important it is for people who need it for a living. So if you know anyone who's good, who meets that sort of description, translation for both between Japanese to English and English to Japanese, and can caption those videos as well. I've got a gig for you, so do hit me up on that. What else is going on this week? NFTs are already dead. I'm not sure that they were really ever very good. Add NFTs to the not interested list. For me, NFT, it was always kind of scammy. Coffeezilla. I mean, I don't have to recommend a channel with like 300 million subscribers or something, but I love the channel Coffeezilla, and it pretty much shows how like every single cryptocurrency is basically a Ponzi scheme. It is enjoyable watching for that, but I think that really shows it up. I have wisdom to share on this as well from a tweet I think I did yesterday or even today, so I'll share my thoughts on that in a moment. But yeah. Well, in fact, now I see there's a comment there. Why are the comments on my capture window not catching up? So I can't highlight the comment, but I can see it on screen. Believe in yourself asking, have you ever put the fact of the Yeti as a stereo mic to use in my training videos? No, I have not. Have I done this and this and this? No, I don't think. And by the way, I can see the levels, the stereo levels, and they're both like locked together. So I'm not sure it's differentiating, I don't know, between left and right. Who knows? But, sometimes music tracks, they do that. They deliberately go left to right. And I find it really annoying because it's kind of an old DJ habit. I like to listen even with the AirPods. I only ever put one AirPod in. It's kind of good because if you run out of battery, you can switch to the other one that's charged, and you can be aware of your surroundings. So I do I basically always listen to everything on one earphone. So like if I'm listening to music and it's switching between the two, oh no, please don't drop out on me. And yeah, it's kind of annoying because I'll miss the half of the music that's switching over. Okay, and we're back. Although in the wrong location, what's happening? Okay, let's put that there. By the way, there's an octopus that changes color just to hold your entertainment while we talk about that. Oh, the comments seem to have caught up. CoffeeZilla is wonderful. But yeah. So I definitely do not use stereo. I wouldn't put you all through that myself. One AirPod at a time, definitely the way all the smart people do it. Yeah, I'm not intentionally. I'm sure I've occasionally looked at comments like this, and all of a sudden, people listening on one earphone can't hear me anymore. It's not intentional. I don't do it on purpose. In fact, actually, I think on my phone I've made it so all like stereo videos are like converted to be the same in both channels because I listen like that. What else have we got in here? Bull market is nearby. Is it really? CoffeeZilla is indeed wonderful. Dan H, good to see you, Dan H. Some people in the UK are blaming the New Zealand haka dance for attracting UK violence fans due to delay in the start of the games. Attracting UK violence fans? I mean, look, if fans of violence want to come and watch the watch the rugby, there's normally much more violence after the kickoff than before. It is a ceremonial war dance that New Zealand does before rugby games. The UK, I mean, I don't really know what to say. I mean, for UK, you have to remember that complaining is part of their team strategy. So that's and they're very good at it. I mean, no one from UK seems to have registered yet that Owen Farrell, like whinging to the referee and getting marched 10 meters, which brought the kick for Pollard into kicking range, was the differential by which England lost the semi-final. So they do have to be a little bit too careful about complaining too much, but what can you do? Anyway, Aaron, definitely I am also one AirPod. Definitely one AirPod at a time is the way to go. BTC Chiba, good to see you. Welcome. Good to have you there in the chat. Yeah. So, yeah, not really Japan related, but after destroying Australians' wine exports and retail, China does this thing about, they wield their their trading privileges with a billion-person market, and China is a bit of a baseball bat to hit people with over economic things. Like right now, Japan is not able to sell seafood, of course, and the whole thing with the seafood, by the way. So China has banned all Japanese seafood from China for safety reasons. So as a result, all of these scallops and all of this fish which has been caught and normally would be being sold in China is stuck in Japan. They haven't found another place to sell it. So right now they're giving like prisons and school menus, all of these deep fried scallops like for free, which I'm like, send them here. I'll have some. But the thing is, when I said that they're banning Japanese fish, they're not banning Japanese fish. Actually, they're only banning fish sold by Japanese fishing companies. Chinese ships are still marching up and down Japanese waters, catching, wall of death fishing all of Japanese waters and selling all of that fish back in China. Chinese people are eating tons of Japanese fish. It's purely Japanese companies are not able to sell fish, are not able to export fish into China anymore. But, that's one political stunt that they're pulling. And of course, when Australia said, hey, why don't we, just like with SARS, why don't we have a UN-governed investigation into the cause of COVID? I mean, I think that'd be a really good scientific idea. It probably wasn't exactly like that. There was a little bit of Australia sort of being Trump's buddy and sort of playing up the China virus thing at the time that they brought it up. But China said, oh, how about we start buying all of your wine that that's a massive part of your economy. And that was pure political retaliation for that. There was the Taiwanese pineapples. China does this all the time. So now China's thinking about changing their mind, to which I would say, remember, Japan understands this very well. China risk. The moment you make yourselves dependent on any aspect of trade with China, and it's hard to resist, it's 1 billion people, you're immediately sort of putting yourself at, China does not interpret rational, self-interested behavior the same way as democratic countries do. So, they're quite happy to, to use free trade, and even if it results in self-pain for national pride, they'll do that. So do you want to hook your wagon up to China and allow them to hit you like this again? It's probably understandable. As I understand, in Australia they're very excited about being able to sell to China again, so maybe there's no choice. I mean, it's such a big market, of course, but yeah, it's just a reminder, be careful with that stuff. Of course, there was the Philippines boat today as well that China rammed around these islands that they're claiming. So Yeah, just stuff to be careful of. Japanese people don't sleep. 40% of people in Japan workers in Japan sleep less than 6 hours a night. Not surprising. I didn't sleep 6 hours a night for a long time. I definitely, do I achieve it? I try to do it now. Although I tell you what, it's borderline if I do it. But yeah, and of all the things that take years off your life, I think not sleeping enough is a big one. And it's not worth it. I can understand back in the bubble when there was money to be made, why you would, sleep 4 hours a night and work yourself to death. But there's really, the way the Japanese economy is going right now, it's a good place to live. I like working here, but it's definitely not worth sleep depriving yourself into like an early death over. So yeah, it's unfortunate, especially given the current economy, that still so many people do that. Although it's also very much a Japanese thing. To get up late, to work until late, to not sleep very much, especially if you live in Tokyo, of course, as well. After work, there's things to do. Plenty of reasons for that. But yes, indeed. On screen, looking at Kerberos Tenchi, the German band, I'm not going to pronounce that correctly, but Der Arzte put 41 minutes of music on a 24-minute LP back in the 1980s. Oh, they did that by recording mono, so the left channel had different songs to the right one. Okay, so that seems kind of clever and dumb at the same time. So how do you play it on a vinyl, like on the separate channels? I don't understand how that can extend. It sounds clever, but kind of dumb at the same time. I could definitely understand playing it like, yeah, you could have it slower and say to people, oh, play it faster, and then have people play it slower. But you can only control, of course, 33 and 45 revolutions per minute. So I'm not sure how that would work, but. Yeah, it's a good one to know. I've just realized the big heart at the bottom of the screen. That's like for me, for rating. Well, that's for me for sending messages to myself about how well I'm doing. Can I give myself a big party thing? Oh, I can do that. Okay. That's confusing. I'm catching that on screen, I guess. Kerberos Tenchi, not Kerberos Tenchi, Quint Ranked. Good to see you, Quint Ranked. Oh, the updating here is quite intermittent. But yes, Quint Ranked, given the Japanese spend all their time working, who watches all that media Japan produces? Well, it's one reason that TV is, oh, nice, getting some love there. Who watches all that media that they produce? Well, of course, you've got housewives, you've got kids home from school and so on. You have people who record a lot of TV, and that's what I used to do. I used to get home 1 o'clock in the morning. And actually, there's a lot of good TV. Like after 1 a.m. Is sort of when the graveyard shift is, where they do sort of innovatively TV. Like, for example, the American TV show Shark Tank was originally a Japanese show, which I don't think ever screened, or maybe it did in the end, but it was originally most of the run of Mani no Tora, which is the original show that Shark Tank was based on. It ran at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was fantastic. And it was people like me getting home from work at 1 o'clock in the morning and would turn it on and watch Mani no Tora, this Japanese show, with no funding. Like graveyard shift is where like original ideas get tested out, and it's very rare that they break into regular hours. But yeah, I mean, remember, you say all of those channels, but at the same time, Japan has what? Basically, in any city, it has about like 5 main channels and, a couple of minor channels. Of course, there's all that, there's all the cable channels and stuff like that as well. But there's not a lot of channels if you think about it for a country of 120 million people. You compare it to a place like America, for example. So yeah, there are people consuming, but yeah, for salarymen and so on, I guess they're watching on the weekends and recording and doing all that sort of thing. But yeah, Dan H, USA trade deal pretty much caused Japan's lost decades. Was that right? I assume you mean caused rather than cased, but is that this? I mean, I suppose. I mean, you mean in the sense the way that they restricted Japanese imports and stuff like that? It's an interesting theory. It's not one that I've heard. I mean, certainly it did suppress Japanese car exports and so on. But I don't know. Was that really the trigger? There's an interesting argument around that. So yeah. Saying that women don't work, so they consume more TV on average. Some women don't. Many women also don't work. Yeah, I think the number's getting less and less nowadays. For younger women, I think the working rate's probably about even. But certainly older women, I'd say that's definitely a big part of the audience and target audience of a lot of the TV shows. Kerberos Tenchi explaining the thing about the records. You were listening by turning that LP player on mono and either have the left channel Right, so I guess that was something you could control on the old players. I've had a few turntables, of course. I've still got the Technics, which I've packed away at the moment. But you can't do that with those. But I guess the old record players, you could do that. It's interesting. Anyway, other stuff that's been going on. Yeah, apparently this isn't just Mainichi today. I was talking about how in some neighborhoods in Western Tokyo, they're having these late night ice cream shops catering to late night dessert seekers. And this is a very good idea. One thing I really liked when I was in Seoul was after work, I'd sort of, get, if I didn't eat enough for dinner or something, I'd go out looking for a snack. And I found all of these, in Korea, they're all coffee places. And they sell like dark coffee at like 10 p.m. at night. And the places are full. But they basically sell like cakes, ice cream, and coffee. Basically just like intense sugar and caffeine. And they're packed. They seem to go all night. Didn't seem healthy, but I liked the idea. And I don't know about having the cheap, horrible coffee late at night, but the sweets at night concept struck me as a really good idea. And I would welcome one of these shops to open somewhere in in my part of Tokyo. Hopefully these things will spread. It strikes me as a good idea. Yeah, I went for a run today. Actually, I went to Skytree. I sort of figured I can probably run that distance. So got out the old camera, got a nice shot there. Got a couple of nice shots running around the Skytree. And ran across all the rivers and so on. It was a beautiful day. It was like 20 degrees Celsius, which is about 75. Yeah, I can convert Fahrenheit quickly now. I'm still adjusted. Black Tango, good to see you. Yes, sir. Oh, no, I can't remember how you spell it. Yeah, g'day, get on. We've got to remember how the pronunciation of it's like, okay, Yasu is pronounced like g'day, so it's like Yasu, something like that, right? Oh, I've got to remember that. But yes, good to see you, Black Tango, our man from Greece. Good to have you there in the chat. So that was my day today. That was nice. Yeah, commenting on the rugby, really, really good game after they got thrashed in the cricket, also Cricket World Cup at the moment, which I'm not really able to follow in Japan. But good. England did really well in the rugby, so good for them. Yeah, Mio Sugita, who I've talked about before, she's like an unhinged, like backbencher party list member for the LDP who wants to contribute to the party by being especially racist. She wrote a couple of racist blogs, which she lost a lawsuit over and had to pay compensation to people who are named specifically resident Koreans in Japan. When they asked the cabinet secretary, what do you think about your crazy racist party member? He said, oh, I can't comment on her. That would be a privacy issue. I don't know if racism is a privacy issue. It was an interesting dodge. I guess it was the best he could come up with at short notice. I wondered why. I often wondered, why don't they just put like regular cameras into orbit as satellites and just snap photos with them? Like, what would happen? It turns out Canon thought the same thing. And so they just shot a Canon 5D and a mirrorless M100 camera into orbit. And they just shot a whole bunch of awesome photos of the Earth that looked beautiful. Really cool news article. I think this is from Nikkei or IT Media. But yeah, they didn't even modify it. There are a few adjustments they did to mount the cameras in the satellites, but the cameras themselves were stock cameras, like with the regular labels and everything. So that was actually interesting that you could do that. That was really, really cool. I just laughed at this case. There's a fry pan going a little bit too much into the 5-minute abs, like trying to outdo everybody advertising that our pans are heated up to this temperature to make them tough. Well, they decided instead of like going incrementally from heated to 3,000 degrees or 4,000 degrees, they decided, why don't we just go for 30,000 degrees, hotter than the sun? And someone pointed out that apparently aluminium, of which the pan is made, itself vaporizes at 4,478 degrees Fahrenheit. So the claim that it was heated to 30,000 degrees would imply that the pan was vaporized. Somebody clearly with no sense of humor did mention that apparently if you put a ceramic coating on it, you could actually heat it to close to that. But yeah, apparently they're in trouble because they went a little bit too far into the one-upping competition on how much they heat up the pan to reinforce it. I thought that was funny. Space mining, that would be awesome. Yeah, another Japanese politician saying, hey, we know Ukraine's going to lose, so why are we even bothering supporting them? Yeah, Hatoyama, which makes me, was it before he resigned or it was just after he resigned? It came out that he received most of his income outside of his politician job. He's from a really, really rich family. He actually owns land near where I live, or his family does. In the center of Tokyo, his family owns a huge block of land. It turns out his mum is still giving him pocket money. And when I say pocket money, she's paying him like a lot, like more than most CEOs of famous Japanese companies get paid. He gets paid his pocket money from his mum, and he wasn't paying income tax on it, and he got caught. Among other things. So I'm guessing after that whole tax kerfuffle, probably the XPM stopped. His mum had to reduce his pocket money. So I'm guessing he's getting pocket money from Russia now. I don't know how that works, but I don't know. Slava Ukraina. Yeah, they've got Russia. Just go home, please. Stop being obnoxious. Lots of story. A big story this week, actually. The number of bear attacks in Japan is rising, and it's there seems to both be an explosion in the population of bears, which is causing some culling to happen, which is causing people in Tokyo to get upset, like leave the bears alone. But there's like a lot of bears wandering around at the moment, particularly in prefectures like Akita and Tohoku and stuff like that, and they are attacking people. And there's a story there that apparently, like in a single day, bears attacked like 5 people, 4 elderly people like in their 80s, and 1 person in their sort of one high school student in their teens. And yeah, my question there is, statisticians, when they're thinking about the population imbalance of elderly to young, are they accounting for how much bears taking out old people disproportionately more than young people is possibly counterbalancing the increasing number of elderly and the imbalance with the youth population in Japan, because there are a lot of bears and they are like attacking people. And I wonder, does this have something to do with the depopulation thing? You got all these small towns in bear company, which are rapidly becoming depopulated and just having old people, and you have bears increasing. So there seems to be a bit of a problem there at the moment. So look out for bears. That is a thing that is happening. Cobra Stenshi, maybe it's like with the probe around the sun, the particles that hit the probe's heat shield are hotter than it could handle, but that being a few and small, they don't cause any damage. I don't think they actually made the pot in the sun, though, so yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they could try using the pen as a heat shield for a solar probe. That would be pretty cool. Black Tengu, do you pay tax on giftings? Yeah, so I believe that the Japanese tax agency doesn't look at a stable income of something close to $1 million cash a year from your mum as being something that you as a tax-free gift. They consider that income. So drop bears. Natalie asked, not drop bears, not koalas, nothing that dangerous. These are just regular bears that just jump on people and attack them. I mean, they are like super scary. Even when they don't look that big, they're like really aggressive and they run really fast. So don't mess with bears. I mean, I'm from a country that has nothing more dangerous than sheep. We have no poisonous animals in New Zealand or Australia. Australia next door like makes up for it, but New Zealand does not have any. So yeah, I just learned to be afraid of everything by default. But bears, yes, they're really taking out the elderly people in northeast Japan, so be careful. Black bears. So apparently they're just getting more willing to come into like urban areas and areas with people. And some people are saying, Quint Ranked, that there's kind of been a population explosion of bears. The population hasn't been controlled, and as a result, there possibly isn't enough food to go around, so they're getting a bit more aggressive foraging. But can't outrun a bear. Oh, and this reminds me, there is an important news story this week. NHK, because there have been so many bear attacks. I'm going to have to skip to this. I know it's in my feed somewhere, although it might be a few days back. Load. I know this. Here we go. NHK. So this is actually, you might think this is what to do when you encounter a furry in the forest, but no, it's actually a simulation of a bear. Not a human in a bear costume. It's it's as adorable as a real bear. But they're giving instructions here. Hey, Mr. Cordy Chap, good to see you. Because this is how bears look and act. And so if you see a bear like this, NHK is now basically saying to elderly people, especially if the bear knows Kung Fu, you definitely want to lie down and cover your neck. And rely on the rucksack to prevent it from tearing the flesh from the back of your body. And literally, that's what it says. I mean, if you've seen The Revenant, it's basically saying, Leo DiCaprio's mistake was that he wasn't wearing a backpack. So yeah, if you're wandering through the forest and you should either see a bear or a person in a bear costume, this is how you should react. I wish I didn't know, but yeah, no, this is serious educational stuff. And yeah, NHK, there you go. That is the bear getting ready to attack, and don't run away is what it's saying. Quietly maintain a distance, and if it comes really close to you, protect your body like this. Protect your back with a backpack, cover up your neck, and what else is it saying? It's saying, yeah, basically, don't let it roll you over or you're a dead man. So yeah, that's how not to get eaten by bears. This is now something that there are PSAs for in Japan. So that is certainly a thing. Am I the only person? I mean, Elon, apparently this week, he started charging $1 for new sign-up accounts, I think in the Philippines and New Zealand as an experiment. Because Elon's saying that, oh yeah, if we make people pay, then spammers will be completely foiled, because spammers, who of course are spamming people for profit to make money off tricking people into clicking links on Twitter, of course they'll never want to pay $1 to run their business on Twitter, where only regular people who just want a shitpost on Twitter would actually ever want to pay $1. So everybody pay $1 to use Twitter, and that will defeat spamming. Now, what I've noticed is that all the spammers who are like sending me, trust me, take a chance, click this link for sexy time, and there was no sexy time. I swear, I checked thoroughly. So all of these, click here for free crypto tokens. None of them actually, just about all of them are like paid accounts. Not only because they have the blue mark, which you can fake, but because they've got extra characters and stuff like that. So seriously, like I'm sure Elon is trying to run the business into the ground on purpose. It's the only way it makes any sense. I've talked about the movie Brewster's Millions. It's a classic movie. Richard Pryor, I think 1978. Where he's like told he's got to lose, like he's got like a week to spend and get rid of like $100 million in order to receive $1 billion. Or I guess this is 1978, so it was probably like 10 million for 100 million. Yeah, he's trying to run a business as badly as possible. I think that's what Elon's doing. I think this is like a hilarious movie that's going on at the moment. Nesta, good to see you, Nesta. Yeah, sorry I couldn't hang out for Fortnite earlier. I was just getting in my daily missions. You saw a bear cub and her cubs face to face when you lived in the California mountains. Whoa, that's freaky, man. I would. I mean, does shitting your pants attract the bears or scare them away? Well, either way, I guess I'd find out if I would ever come face to face with a bear. That would be bad. Eater, yeah. I don't want to know anything more than the fact that they exist. But I mean, if you're walking into the forest and you saw that, I mean, there's all sorts of ways to interpret that situation. Continuing on, yeah, I made a few random hot takes about blockchain. That's right. As you know, I work in all this tech. I've been doing a lot of training videos for AI this week, and it is cool tech. I can basically train people now to make personally trained AI chatbots with certain bodies of data. And I've been showing lawyers who work in this tech how to do it. It's kind of fun, and it's getting accessible enough that you can do it without coding now. So I've been showing people how to do that this week. And just for all of the tech cycle hypes that are happening, blockchain, which of course includes crypto and NFTs, is BS. I mean, crypto itself is just money laundering Ponzi schemes. Metaverse is BS because it's just it's basically just making it more like, why would I go into a 3D maze version of a website that I could just look at on a page? It's just you're making easy things harder. I can't figure out a use case. AR, I think, will eventually be interesting when you can put on glasses and see like overlays in the world. Like when I can go out running and see a map and my running vital statistics like in front of me without having to look down. I'm looking forward to that. But going around in a virtual world instead of the real world like all the time, that doesn't make sense. Actually, you're just going to get motion sick and lost and confused. So metaverse doesn't make sense. Blockchain doesn't make sense. All these people who came to me years ago, including lawyers, saying, hey, do I have to learn about blockchain and smart contracts on blockchains? And I was like, can you give me one use case where it makes sense to spend like $10 of electricity? Like you have to chop down like half an acre of Amazonian rainforest and wait for 25 minutes for something to go through on a chain that could be filled with like, illegal pornography on it. in order to validate something that you could do just with a simple wet signature or a click to accept for a contract. The technology is interesting, but it's got no practical use. So all of these things I thought were, useless, but I did think that this was AI, however, I am using and I'm finding it really, really useful and interesting to teach people. So that's what I've been doing lately. Anyway, continuing on. Yeah, Middle East stuff is still a hellhole, of course. Getting colder, but not yet. There is this... oh, no, this is something else. This was something that was being shared. More rugby commentary, more Elon Musk stuff. Man, I joked. So apparently when the Hanshin Tigers won the Pacific League of the Baseball League of Japan, there were all these warnings. Don't jump into the Dotonbori River that goes through Osaka because it's so polluted and so full of germs. It's like jumping into a toilet and you'll get sick. And I joked that anyone who jumps into the river is going to get like 10 venereal diseases. And it turns out someone did jump in the river and they did actually get a venereal disease after. However, I do point out that it's not clear that he got the venereal disease from the river or from being so popular afterwards, that he got it in the aftermath of just being so popular for having jumped in the river. So from that perspective, now that the Hanshin Tigers were facing promotion into the Japan league, national final, there was a risk again of more people jumping into the river. And all I can say is that even though the last person who did it did catch venereal disease after jumping in the river, it's kind of 50-50 whether it was a good idea or not. Someone was captured on video later on jumping in the river, but it didn't look like a very good idea. So that is a thing. What else have we got here? The PM is offered right now record low approval ratings for the Prime Minister. He's trying to turn it around. So he said, hey, why don't I just cut everybody's taxes? How about that? Right now, the Japanese government, of course, has a huge spending deficit that's out of control. The Ministry of Finance is probably going to get him, it's probably going to arrange a coup if he really wants to reduce taxes. But he's just like, yeah, we're going to have an election next year. My popularity's tanking. So what do you say I just give you all a bunch of money? And the Japanese electorate, of course, voters, they can see through a scheme to be bribed for simple political purposes. And like I say, the reaction of any correctly thinking, moral and upstanding Japanese voter is to ask, how much, dude? So yeah, no doubt he's going to make it. And I remember Taro Aso actually offered to have this local city councils just give everybody $300 in Japan, which I totally collected, even though he definitely deserved to be voted out. But yeah, that's sort of where they're going on that at the moment. VR, AR, interesting for gaming in your humble opinion. The issues are physical issues associated with it. Yeah, and the tech is, of course, improving enough now. The frame rates are getting better that you don't actually feel like throwing up after 15 minutes of doing it. To me, if you're living by yourself, the idea of getting a full VR headset, I guess, is maybe, if I was living on my own, maybe I'd have one. But, to live in a world with people around it, I think if we get into Black Mirror, if we get into a world where you could have regular reading glasses, type glasses, or contact lenses, where you could do VR or AR, then I think it becomes feasible then that you could have screens in front of you that you could view sort of, privately. So you could, watch a movie on the train or on an airplane or whatever and not have to put on a full VR headset. I think that's when the technology becomes interesting. And then it would be primarily AR. VR, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced in full, isolating VR. Like I said, I think that at the moment, one day it'll get there. And I think it's good that they're developing it. I think actually what Meta's doing around the Quest is interesting and it looks fun. But I've already made my criteria clear. When I can put on a pair of overlay of glasses that have heads-up displays that I can run around with, I will pay for those, and I'll pay good money for those, but they're not available yet. So we'll see what happens. It is indeed slimming down, and I am looking forward to that myself. But yeah, believe in yourself. You're living with 3 other people who have adopted something. So if everybody's into it, maybe it works. But yeah, I can't imagine being in a situation where I would do that. Ida remembers in Denmark getting internet in the mid-90s. Your ISP, yeah, I remember. So you like me would remember the sound of the internet from those days. I do like the spoon and tamago thing, and I'm getting a lot of spam, like recruiter spam at the moment. He was proud enough of this response that he sent it back. Yeah, I'm tempted to say this as well. I thought that was a very good response, very witty. VR troopers, yeah, I'm sure. What else have we got here? There's if you run into a person dressed as a bear in the forest, just walk away very slowly and pretend, try not to pay any attention. Apparently, yeah, the NES was invented apparently on October the 18th, 1985. I didn't know that fact, but there you go. It's a great invention. Azabu residents apparently are wild. The sign, for what it's worth, yakan, shizukani. So they're saying the sign in Japanese is saying, please, at nighttime, please be quiet. Please don't disturb the residents, is what it says. But of course, the English translation, maybe that was a ChatGPT translation. I don't know, but it says, please calm down at night. Azabu residents are pretty wild. I laughed at that. That's the racist lady who the cabinet secretary can't comment on because of privacy. Because being crazy and racist is a privacy issue. Yeah, I did comment. Only the LDP would try to improve the gender balance of its party list with a racist. Sometimes, what do you go with? So that's a thing. Japan's been evacuating people from Israel. I think I mentioned this last week. And it's kind of funny. The South Koreans, at the moment, the relations with South Korea right now are wonderful, and that is encouraging. That South Korea actually flew out like 50 Japanese people from, all the way to South Korea from Israel directly. Japan, however, flew out like 20 people, and it only flew them like as far as Jordan or Dubai, and then it charged them all $300. So everybody say, hey, the Koreans are better to Japanese than Japanese are. I think the government backed down on charging people for it. But yeah, terrible situation there, of course, in Israel at the moment. And I won't say too much. There's been a lot of, again, I'm kind of curious how we have someone from from Israel in the chat, and of course, people from all sides on this. But and I've mentioned I generally have a pro-Israel bias because I've got connections there. A lot of the protests in Japan seem to be very, very much pro-Palestine. And when I say pro-Palestine, it's like there's no sympathy at all, no thought of the hostages or the murders or anything like that. I can feel sympathy for the Palestinians all day long, for all the things that are done wrong to them. But at the moment, the thing is that there are 200 hostages. And even in the regular Japanese media, that doesn't really get, there's definitely kind of always been a slightly more pro-Arab media perspective from Japan. Japan's got close ties because, of course, it depends on, Arab countries for all of their energy. But they sort of skip over the fact that there are actual civilian hostages in Israel at the moment, which bothers me a bit, and the way that people talk generally about the whole thing, like the problem, like those protests in Shinjuku and so on, were very emphatically talking about how all of Israel shouldn't exist or something, which is the same genocidal sort of message that Hamas has, which are you talking about peace, or you're talking about that you agree with Hamas? And it's not always clear. I'm hoping that there'll be peace there soon, but in Japan, it's been kind of disturbing seeing how, for a long time, the left in Japan, of course, actually carried out the Ben Gurion airport massacre in the 1960s, the Red Army, and a lot of people from that movement are still, active in the left in Japan, and they still carry a lot of weight. And these are people who have directly not just supported, but actually participated in, terrorism in the past. So, yeah, it's disturbing, but that's a thing that's happening. Kishida, sometimes even when you're wrong, even when you're right, you're still wrong. So even though everybody agrees with Kishida breaking up, or when did they say breaking up the Unification Church? They're not breaking it up. They're just making them pay taxes. In spite of 83%, everyone thinking that was a good idea, the support for the cabinet is still at 25%. So, yeah, he switched to bribing immediately after this. Probably a smart move. It's an interesting YouTube video about how Japan and Poland, even when they were actually on opposite sides, when Poland was occupied by Germany and Japan was allied with the Axis powers in World War II, Japan was still working with Polish spies in exile. Like Japan and Poland have this weird relationship where they were really good friends. I think it might go back to the whole way that the Prussians supported Japan's development, as well as fending off sort of, Western powers. But yeah, really fascinating history of Japan and Polish relations. There's a good video on that there, which I shared. Going into the comments, the Middle East is indeed complicated, and yes, Japan does need that oil. So what can you do? And yes, there is a ton of propaganda online, which is that's the thing. When people feel like being right in an argument is more important than like murdering people. When the answer to terror attack is but I don't know. I feel like people, in either direction. But yes, indeed, Ra. And the whole thing is just horrible what's happening there at the moment. So yeah, and I'm not qualified to talk about it too much, of course. But I see a lot of people who I think whose hearts are in the right place and wanting to be right, and this whole thing, when you're seeing it as like when you see the Middle East as a university debate and you decide to just take a side and be blind to everything else on either way, it's this is a case study of how well-intentioned, idealistic people can end up without realizing it themselves, turning into, absolute inhuman, people who advocate murder again, in both all directions of this. So yeah, it's a challenging time, and I do hope I hope that things improve soon. Anyway, yeah, solar apparently looks set to become the cheapest form of energy in the world pretty soon. That's pretty cool. That's some good news. Jesse Johnson complaining about people carrying luggage on the subway at rush hour. Of course, a lot of tourists in Japan at the moment. So Japan Times journalist there saying stop doing it. And I think, yeah, screw those guys. And then I remember that there was that time I flew back from Australia and I arrived at Narita Airport at like 7 o'clock in the morning. And I had to get back to Shibuya. I had to get the Yamanote line. I had to get the Narita Express to Tokyo Station. I had to catch the Yamanote line to Shibuya. And I was carrying a 9-foot longboard from Australia. And it was like basically 8:30 in the morning on the Yamanote line. And I was carrying a 9-foot tall longboard and a backpack. I've never seen anyone as obnoxious as I was being obnoxious. I mean, I felt bad about it, but I also thought, well, I'm also tired and grumpy and I have to get home. So after 2 or 3 aborted attempts where I was like, I'm not gonna get on the train when it's packed full of people with a surfboard, I kind of committed and went for it. And I was the worst. I was the worst example of this. So I feel like I can't be too judgmental. But of course, you do see lots of people nowadays cramming onto the subway with suitcases and so on. And yeah, just try to be careful. Queen Danny asking, is Halloween cancelled? Yeah, I'm getting to that. So Shibuya is doing its best to cancel Halloween, to say do not come to Shibuya for Halloween, which yeah, that whole thing is a bit of a history as well. You might recall previous years, there was a number of years where at Halloween, before it kind of became a big thing, it was sort of a thing where you get a lot of expats in Tokyo would get on the Yamanote line on Halloween evening and drink on the Yamanote line and be really obnoxious to sort of other passengers. And that became something that the police started like setting up like riot squads to clear the trains. And it kind of ended up, that kind of died off, I think, when the whole Halloween thing moved into Shibuya. And it became kind of a big party night in Shibuya. And, there's publicly drunk people. You go to Shimbashi any Friday, Saturday night. There's drunk throwing up salarymen all over the place. The idea of drinking in public or outside or anything as a kind of a social ill that's exclusive to young people and foreigners in Shibuya is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, there's a combination of general moral panic by the elderly sort of mayor of Shibuya and so on, just being concerned about all these foreigners who are what gives Shibuya its reputation as a youth culture capital in Japan. But wanting to do something about that, of course, and maybe more credibly, the crush that happened in Itaewon last year. Itaewon has a lot in common with Shibuya. It's got a lot of very narrow streets and a lot of problems with serious crowds that have been a safety concern in recent years. And so they've cited the concern about the crowds, but of course they've also cited that businesses are upset at foreigners buying drinks in the convenience stores and drinking on the street instead of coming into their bars and restaurants and so on and being a nuisance. So they've also sort of done a campaign to try to shut down street drinking in Shibuya, even though it's done everywhere in Japan. So yeah, it's kind of turned into another campaign, both against, and because the Shibuya thing, the Halloween party is associated very much with foreigners. They're very much targeting, they're doing that no more Halloween in Shibuya, don't even think about it, guys, campaign in English, and they're sort of targeting it at foreigners, even though it's become very popular with Japanese people. So yeah, that's a bit misplaced. Yeah, Nesta Ra talking about, wasn't there some violent stuff? Yeah, there were some Japanese people who got a little bit carried away, and I think they started, like shaking cars and doing stuff like that, and just, again, probably being too young and too stupid and drinking alcohol for the first time, and thinking that, that's right, there were people who actually tipped over a car, and that included a couple of foreign tourists, but also some Japanese revelers. And that, I think, also just contributed to the whole idea of out-of-control youth. That also contributed to it. The mayor just basically said, okay, no more Halloween. So they started a whole advertising campaign. That's in here somewhere that I think I'll get to. That, they're attempting to cancel Halloween. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, Halloween is in some ways getting bigger in Japan as a festival than Christmas. So Japanese do get into it, but we'll have to find out what's happening with that. Yeah, I saw this teleprompter from Elgato getting advertised. It's pretty affordable, and it's got a built-in screen. And I must admit, while I do this just talking, like a normal person like this, the training videos I make for work and stuff like that are scripted. And there are actually a lot like these, proper YouTubers who do scripted videos. I must admit, having tried it myself, like to read a script naturally to a camera is actually harder. I don't know, I get nervous, my mouth dries out. You stumble, you make mistakes, you do retakes of things. Something I'd like to be better at. So when I saw this thing about a camera, a screen built-in teleprompter, I thought that's actually pretty cool. Plus, what you can do, like for live streaming, is I could put the chat directly into the, I could put it on the camera, so I could be talking and reading the comments while looking directly at the camera, which would be kind of cool. Although I guess the way I've got the camera set up is I can look sideways at the screen over there, and on the screen I'm looking sideways over at the comments as they're posted on the screen. So that kind of works, right? So yeah. Aaron's saying they can't make the bars closed though, right? Well, exactly. And the whole point is they want the people in the bars paying for drinks rather than on the street. But what can you do? So yeah, 7 more minutes here. We've got more Pokemon card thieves where police are looking for help, trying to catch them all. We have, what else? North Korea sending containers over to Ukraine. We've got here, apparently Kyushu was trying to promote its fashion as a way of drawing tourists. That's the Kyushu fashion. They're kind of special down there. I mean, when the gangsters there are not throwing hand grenades at civilians, they are kind of famous for dressing up excessively for the coming of age ceremonies. And I just realized the significance. That's definitely a coming of age ceremony. Someone overly dressed up, although of course, celebrating his 20th birthday, he's definitely already. They grow up so fast, don't they? I laugh, but my mum was 19. I think she was 19. I had young parents, so he's probably going to grow. That kid's probably going to grow up to be a genius. Who's going to have? I don't know what he's going to think of his parents, but he's going to be a very similar age to them. So there you go. Oh yeah. So I've talked in the past about overly trusting AI and how it can hallucinate and all that stuff. But apparently, Japanese government's thinking, well, no, we need this stuff now. So let's just hook up ChatGPT, give it a dog mascot, have it talk to people. So the Osaka city government dog was asked, hey, are they canceling the Osaka Expo? And the dog said, yeah, we are. It's a shame. I was really looking forward to it. It's totally cancelled. It, of course, isn't, although it's looking like it might be at risk of, because it's being really mismanaged by Osaka at the moment. But yeah, apparently the Osaka ChatGPT dog is already advertising that. The Beaujolais Nouveau planes heading straight for Japan with the special cargo of battery acid new wine from France. Unique time of year where Japan goes crazy celebrating the arrival of the Beaujolais Nouveau shipments from France. And France celebrates getting rid of all the Beaujolais Nouveau, sending it over to Japan and being paid for it. So it's a win-win situation, but yeah, not one that I understand. what else have we got? Here's the Halloween, canceling Halloween ads where they've actually, I do like the graphics of this. It does look pretty cool. But some people live in Shibuya. I used to live near the Shibuya. Shibuya, no violence. Shibuya, no drinking on the street. I mean, you can drink on the street. Smoking is banned. Traffic violation. I mean, yeah, basically, young people, don't be young. Go away. So, I don't know. Like I said, it's dramatic. I do like the visuals, and what they've done with the kanji is really clever. But definitely, this is a snazzy marketing campaign against young people. This is all prohibited in this area, so they've set up a dry zone, which, yeah, at the same time, though, I mean, yes, Japan does allow drinking in public, but they rely on people not taking advantage and messing it up, like is definitely what's happened in like Australia and a lot of Western countries that I'm from. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's one thing where I feel like a lot of tourists are kind of here and they find out, oh, I can drink in public. I'm going to act exactly like the same way that got this banned in my country. So that's what's happening a little bit. What have we got here? Russia. This is pretty cool. This is a train that goes through like an autumn sort of leaf tunnel. And indeed, they take it seriously when they actually turn off the lights to make it look cool, which it does. And that's pretty cool, right? This is like a regular commuter train that they just try to make it more enjoyable for the passengers by turning off the lights as they go through this. And yeah, I would want to ride that train. Apparently that's in Kyoto, so that's another good reason to go to Kyoto. So yeah. What else? We've almost gone through the week. Like I say, there's not a lot of big standout sort of topics to talk about this week. The ads are comedy gold. Yeah, they're actually pretty well made. It does look really, really cool. The problem of removing titles from links is that indeed you can misjudge the photo if you don't know what the accompanying story is. Whenever I hear a news story about how Japan is sending planes to Djibouti, I always just think Shake Djibouti, the song. But that's a thing. I shouldn't think that. That's a bad thing. It's a serious country, people. It's not a disco song. Oh yeah, Russia. Russia's very upset. Nuclear waste. What was that about? Russia is also now very upset with Japan, not because Japan thinks they're being a bunch of assholes in Ukraine, but because they have also decided to join with China in being very, very upset and concerned about the safety of Japan discharging treated wastewater into the Pacific Ocean from Japan, and they will also be banning Japanese seafood imports, which. Yeah, I mean, this is, of course, the same Russia that in the 1990s dumped 900 tons of nuclear waste directly into the Sea of Japan and gave zero shits for it. But, of course, Japan releases some wastewater and all of a sudden, yeah. So, again, I mean, not quite the same economic impact of China. But Russia saying that, yes, as they say in Russia, nuclear waste dumps you. I think that's the angle that they're going for. So that's right. Russia sincerely concerned about the safety consequences of the Fukushima wastewater release, even though, yeah, they did totally, of course, dump 900 tons of raw radioactive waste directly into the Sea of Japan, but never mind. Yeah, I think we got through the whole week this week. That is pretty much it. And yes, that is the flights out of Israel thing. Again, hoping that situation improves and settles down soon, and some more rugby. So it's been a good week. I do hope that you're all well. It's been great to see everybody in here. Glad that Sainted Sue made it. I wish that what are the rush hours in Tokyo? Tokyo asks Edo. Rush hours in Tokyo are, that's a good question. In the evening, it's a bit more. In the morning, it's definitely like 8 a.m., not before 8 a.m. really, but from 8 a.m. to about 9:30 is definitely rush hour. The evening, it's a bit more staggered. I would say probably 5:30 through to about 8. You have people who work later in Japan. Sainted Sir, glad that you could make it. Yeah, and good to have you here in the chat and everybody else. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Like I said, it's been nice to just go through the whole thing. Will Sony make a wireless bong thing? I doubt it. What was that about legalization? Did I say something about legalization? Bluetooth. No, I don't know. So the Sony thing, people want to go back to the Sony story. Let's go back to this. It was actually, that was somebody being mischievous, where this news story was about like a soundproof saxophone that you can practice. Sony's actually just developed like a, what is this? An AI enhanced, like, yeah, so that you can practice in an apartment without bothering people. So it's literally like a soundless saxophone. It is pretty cool on its own. But since the story is just posted without, now that you can't see story titles, Spoon and Tamago is changed the title of the article to match what the photo looks like. Sony unveils new line of bongs and a plan to legalize marijuana. Not going to happen. Not in a million years here. But what can you do? So anyway, that's the show. Thanks for keeping me company. We're just over an hour. Do remember to hit like if you liked. Great to see so many people in the chat once again with 12 likes, 22 people viewing. So remember, like if you liked, I do appreciate it. Do come back next week and keep me company, and have a good week. Remember as well, if you know a translator who can do like captioning and so on, and between both languages and Japanese, who would do this for a small business, hit me up on a DM, whichever way you're in touch with me, Facebook or Twitter, because so I can pass it along to the people asking. And other than that, have a good week. So I will talk to you all later, and boom, peace. Have a good one. Any stream. And this is the end. Ready? 3, 2, 1, boom.